Happy New Year, Pioneer UK family. You know, as we crossed over into 2023, I felt the Lord say this about His church. We need a different quality of fuel and a different quantity of fuel to run on compared to that which fueled us before. I was drawn to the parable that Jesus tells us in Matthew 25 of the 10 bridesmaids or the 10 virgins who are waiting for the bridegroom to come and end up waiting longer than expected. 5 of them were prepared for uncertain circumstances and they had reserves of oil or fuel. But 5 of them didn't have reserves of fuel. They ran out. They couldn't borrow from the others and they missed the coming bridegroom. And my sense is that we need to be prepared with fuel that lasts, that sees us through uncertainty, sees us through disruption and can endure. We cannot borrow from the resilience of others. We need our own reserves, our own depths to draw from, our own tenacity to keep going, our own rootedness in Him. We need supply lines from the Spirit that will sustain us in the years to come. You know, at the Women Leaders Conference over the weekend, Henrietta Blythe, the leader of Open Doors, told us stories from the persecuted church. They've learned something we need to learn. How do followers of Christ, stripped of freedom and comfort, burn so brightly for Him? It's because they've got a different quality of fuel and a different quantity of fuel that they run on. But we can't borrow from them. We need to possess it for ourselves. We need rhythms that dig deep wells inside of us. We need to be ready with full lamps and fuel in reserve to last us for this coming season. So as I mentioned, we had the Women Leaders Conference over the weekend. Over 150 women were booked on, mostly in person, some online. And here's some highlights. And don't forget, you can also now book on for the Women Leaders Conference 2024. We are just 5 weeks away from our annual Leaders Conference 23 and down in Southampton, and on the Friday night we're going to be having our big offering, and it's going to be split into 3 ways. A third is going to pioneer churches who are working with Ukrainian refugees. You know, it's almost a year since Ukraine was invaded. A third is going to pioneer international, particularly around putting on leaders conferences in other nations, and a third to Pioneer UK, looking to continue to invest in our training to make it affordable and accessible. We've got new churches that are being planted and we want to support those church planters.
I see another in the fire, walking reborn in the fire and form.
Come all you heavy laden, gather round the flame. Be captivated again by the flicker of the flame that claims it will set its people ablaze and raise a new generation in praise.
Formed by fire, I feel inspired to step even closer, to hold life looser but to them tight. Finding strength to fight, I rise as a phoenix, His image my helix.
I see four in the fire, walking reborn
in the fire and form. We have a friend within the flames who invites us again to be refined until all our pride turns to ashes and our will no longer clashes with the union of all that the Spirit longs for.
With fire's brand pressed into hand, here we stand, brightly for all peoples below steeples, a flamed army, offering our lives as torches, the prize.
I see more
in the fire, walking reborn
in fire and form.
Go out into the darkness, carriers of the fire that gives, loves, imparts with humble hearts. Raise a wildfire.
As each new soul receives
the baton of the flame.
Pass pass it on.
Pass it on.
Pass it on.
I see another
in the fire,
walking reborn in the fire and form.
Now, a few weekends ago, our very own Linda Ward passed on the local leadership of Blessed Church to Tom Callister in order to release her into the apostolic call that is on her life and to continue to see Bless go from strength to strength. So here's a little bit of footage that we've got from that weekend.
But I want to pass this baton to you, Tom, to say that God so trusts you with your leadership. You have proven yourself. There's a great book called Pastoral Succession. And in that book, the writer talks about how many people who are passed the baton onto in terms of succession have often been developed and trained elsewhere. I want to really thank the Mackenzies and the incredible, gracious way in which you released Tom and you invested into him for years. And it's appropriate to honour you and thank you for your investment into Tom. And we are the beneficiaries. And that's what I love. I've seen so many different church leaders here, different spaces. It's just so wonderful that is kingdom, isn't it? We are part of one church. We have different expressions, but one worldwide church. And Tom, in passing the baton on to you, I just want to encourage you and say to you and speak over you a release as you pick up the responsibility. So it's not mine to carry, but I'll support you with the rest of the team as you pick this up and God anoints you. And whatever pace you run, in COVID we talked about it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. But there'll be times where we run fast, there'll be times where we slow down, and may God give you the grace as you lead us in this new season, Tom. So I want you to take that baton, it's gold, which will be relevant for when we pray for you, because God has anointed you and called you, and He trusts you. I trust you, so humanly speaking, as a human, it's really great to be passing on the baton to someone you trust. And more importantly than that, God trusts you. And as a community, we trust you, and we're behind you.
So, I hope to see most of you down in Southampton for our annual Leaders Conference very soon. Bye.